Hello, this video will instruct you how to make a cherry blossom flower using the large cherry blossom template. So it's about 14 inches, the overall size, and you're going to cut all the items according to the instruction document included with your template. So a 6-inch wide pentagon base. You'll need a 3.11 inch circle, or 3 inches is fine. I use the same color as my base. The sepal that comes with it, this is 8 inches wide. And then we're going to need 10 petals at 6.5 inches height, and then 5 petals at 6 inches. So it's 3 layers. And then we're using all 3 centers from the cherry blossom file. So these were the same ones that we use, like the sepal and the centers for the small mini flower cherry blossom. And it does come with your purchase. So we're going to use 2 of center 4, one at 4.5 inches, one at 4 inches. Center 3 we're doing at 3 inches, and then center 1 at 3.5. The sepal, or center 2, is 8 inches again. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing you need to do with your flower shaping mat, which is a soft foam mat, is we're going to add our embossing line. So I'm going to take the smaller tip of the metal ball stylus tool, and we're going to make our line. So I like to go down the center, and then towards that center point, I'm going to draw lines on each side. So we're embossing a texture for each petal. Let me add the light so if you can see it on the back. So you're going to do this for all 15 petals. So again, using the smallest metal ball stylus tool, add your line down the center and then draw lines towards that imaginary dot. It doesn't have to be perfect. I don't think about it. So I'm doing 3 of the smaller 6-inch high. Now this is a wider petal, so you do use up a lot of paper cutting the petals. Now we're going to go over it with a larger metal ball stylus. So we're basically going to follow our lines. So it really embosses that texture, and it almost looks like a seashell, like a clamshell. Again, I'm just going over the lines. So the first one, you do a smaller one, and then you go over it with the larger. And you do that for all 15 petals. Next, we're going to add some coloring to just the smaller 6-inch high petals. Now, in the instruction document provided, I did do all 15. So I wanted to show it to you both ways. If you're looking at the flower from the side, you do see the bottom layers, but honestly, I think we'll be fine just doing the top 5. So all we're gonna do is take our picked raspberry distress oxide, a finger dabber. So I've been using this one for quite a long time. Starting at the center and off of the petal, I press really hard, but then I lighten up my pressure, because now you're going to do mostly like an ombre effect. Just color out very lightly. And I start a little bit off the petal, pressing really hard, and then I start to ease up on my pressure. like you're coloring and doing the ombre where it gets lighter as you go up the petal. Of course, this step is totally optional. So this is very similar to how we made our smaller mini flower or cherry blossom branches. For the circle, I like to shade the whole entire petal, but I want it to be the same color, so that's why I didn't cut it in a darker raspberry or anything. So I used, for my coloring, it's Tea Party or Rose color. Either or will work. They're very similar by Recollections from Michaels. So you just want to color it. Color the entire base. It doesn't have to be totally covered, but it gives you the same shading coloring effect as your petals. For the center, we're going to take a brown marker, so any brown marker will do. And as you can see, I'm just adding some coloring to the tips of the centers. I do both sides just because this is a larger flower and you can see it when we style it. So all you need to do is I just do random lines. If it doesn't cover the entire top, that's okay. You want to see some coloring. And you're doing this to all 4 centers on both sides. So this one I'm doing is the smallest one. I prepared the other ones ahead of time. Then I like to go over my marker just to soften up the color. So I just go over it with the picked raspberry Distress Oxide again. And the color I'm using for my center is Fuchsia by Recollections from Michaels. So it's the same coloring I used on my cherry blossom branches. And add it to both sides, basically just on like the stems of the center. I just come out from the center. And that just toned down the brown coloring. For our petals, then we're going to roll both sides back or under. So for the larger petals, all 10 of the larger ones, I'm using a 1/2 inch dowel rod, and I stack maybe 3 of them at once. And then I just roll the sides back. So I like to roll mine up, so I find it easier to flip it over. And now both sides are rolled under or back. So all 10 petals are stacked here. For the 5 smaller ones, I'm going to use a 3/8 inch dowel rod. So I'm going to stack 2 of them at once. And again, you're just rolling the sides back. And then the last 3, I'll stack them together. And now you styled your petals. So now we're going to cut up the centers. So we're going to put these into piles of 5. So for our first layer, we're going to cut 3.5 inches up the center. So use your ruler, make your pencil mark at 3.5 inches. We take our scissors and cut up right up the center. For the next 5, you're going to do 2 3/4 inches. Make your pencil mark. We put it on the back so you do not see that, so we don't have to worry about that. And then for layer 3, we're cutting up 1 3/4. So the less we cut up the center, the further up the petal's gonna sit. Okay, now we're going to assemble our petals. So we keep them in their piles. I like to separate the petal, a line of glue, lift it up and over. Separate them. I use usually my middle and ring finger. Draw a small line of glue, lift it up and over. So we'll have a little bit of a dimple there. Lift up and over, and we're going to continue this for all 15 petals. Just a small line of glue, lift up and over. So I lift my right side over to my left. So layer 2, again we cut this at 2 3/4 inches. Lift up and over. So now you can see it's going to sit a little bit higher than our previous layer. Lift up and over. So you can still see our veining on the petals. So it gives it some texture. And for the last 5 petals, we cut up the center 1 3/4. And this one we did do some shading, so add a small amount of glue, lift it up and over. So now because it was cut even less, it's going to sit further up. So it's a pretty fast flower to create. And she'll go beautiful with your smaller flowers or branches. Okay. Now we're going to take our base and we're going to make our pencil marks. So we're going to measure 1 1/4 inches in on each side of the pentagon and then another 1/2 inch. So I do my first measurement at 1 1/4 and then I slide it to 1 1/2 and then I make a mark at 2 inches. So 1 1/4 inches. I slide it to 1 1/2 and then make my pencil mark at 2. It's just easier for me. 1 1/4, slide it, and then do your 1/2 inch mark. So 1 1/4 inches and then another 1/2 inch in. All around all 5 sides. This helps you with your placement of your petals. And now we have that all marked. Now we get to assemble our petals, so we're just going to keep these in order. I'm just going to set them a little bit out of the way so I don't get them mixed up. And we're going to start with our largest. So we'll start at one of the sides. We're going to add glue. Line it up in the middle of that side of the center and bring it into your pencil mark and press. Rotate to the left or counterclockwise. And I'm going to raise my camera a little bit. Add your hot glue. Go in the middle of this side of the shape, pentagon, and then bring it into your pencil mark and press. Rotate it to the left or counterclockwise. So now we're on this side. So the shape of the base tells us how many petals and also helps us with our placement of the petals. So line it up in the middle and bring it into your pencil mark and press. Rotate to the left or counterclockwise. We just have 2 more layers here since this is a 5-sided petal, shaped flower. Line it up in the middle, bring it into your pencil mark and press. Rotate it to the left or counterclockwise. Center it in the middle of that side of the pentagon and bring it into your first pencil mark and press. Okay, we're going to rotate it just slightly to the left or counterclockwise, and we're going in between these 2 petals with layer 2. We're going to keep it even at the base, so you're just going to line it up in the middle and bring it into that line. So bring it in the middle, right up to where you ended where the first petals are. So it's kind of right in a row. Rotate it to the left or counterclockwise. Okay, place it right in between and bring it up to where the edges meet. So this one will sit a little bit higher because we cut up the center a lot less. Rotate it to the left or counterclockwise. So I usually like to do layer 1 and 2 at the same height petals because it fills it in nicely. Place your petal right in between and right up to the base where they meet. So they should just follow a nice circular motion when we're done, all layer 1 and 2. So again, they're all lined up. Rotate it to the left or counterclockwise. Add glue, go right in between, up to where those petals end for layer 1. So again, they're all lined up. Our next pencil mark will be for layer 3. And then our last petal for layer 2. Goes in between, right up to the pencil mark. And it can be tucked underneath petal 1. Now we're going to rotate it slightly, and now we're back here between petals 1 and 2. So layer 1 and 3 will be lined up. I'm going to flip it towards me and just add a little bit of glue on half of it, just because we're going to tuck our last petal underneath. So line it up and bring it into your pencil mark and press. Rotate it to the left or counterclockwise. Now you can add glue on the entire bottom there. Line it up with layer 1 into your pencil mark and press. So line it up with layer 1 in between the petals of layer 2 into your pencil mark. Rotate to the left or counterclockwise. Add your hot glue. So not adding a super lot of it. Line it up with layer 1 in between the petals of layer 2 into that pencil mark and press. So you can see I'm going right up to that pencil mark right there. So my next one, when we rotate it, will come into this pencil mark. Add your hot glue. Line it up with layer 1 in between the petals of layer 2, right up to your pencil mark and press. Rotate to the left or counterclockwise for our last petal, and that will get tucked behind the first petal. Add your hot glue, line it up, bring it into your pencil mark, press, and then lift up layer 1. And now we're going to glue down the other side of layer 1. So I just lift it up slightly and add a little bit more glue. So there's your flower shape. Now to finish off the center, we're going to bring our flower shaping mat back. We're going to take a bone folder. And first we can glue in our circle, sorry. So add hot glue to the back of your circle. Just watch your fingers. I kind of go around where my finger was holding it. And press it right in there. So now it looks like our actual cherry blossom bottom. So let's take our sepal, and now we're going to curl all of the tentacles, we'll call it, with our bone folder. So it's like curling ribbon. So just go around and pull each one separately. And it's just curling them. So when you flip it over, that's what it looks like. Okay, then we're going to take our largest one And again, we're going to do the exact same thing. Because they're all different sizes, I'm just going to do them all separately. So I just hold it in the center and curl it under. Just pull each little tentacle, I'm not sure what they're called. So we're just going to keep them lined up, largest to smallest. I just hold up the base and then we go around. Now we're switching to the different center. So it's the center 3. So there's 3 different centers, 4 if you count the sepal. So though a sepal usually goes on the back on a mini flower, we're going to use it in the center for a little pop of green color. And I did do that on some of my cherry blossoms as well. Place it in the center. So why did we do both sides? Because you can see it from the side. Now we're going to roll the center with a smaller metal ball stylus. I'm going to add some hot glue, starting with the smallest. Go to the second smallest. Place it in the center. Now we're going to add some hot glue. Oops, we forgot to roll them. Add a little bit of hot glue. We're going to glue her in the center. And add more hot glue, and then into the largest center at 4.5 inches. And then we glue it into our sepal. I just add some hot glue and try and get it right in the center. And then I'm just going to use my metal ball stylus to press. And then we're just going to flip it over and add some glue. And place it right in the center. There you have the cherry blossom. And then optional is to flip it over and you can add your hooks, or I like to mount mine on a cardboard take round. So you can use the 6 inches, which might be good. And then all I do is add a bunch of hot glue, and then I add my hooks to the back, or indoor mounting tape or whatever. So depending how you're hanging them, this step is totally optional. I would normally use my larger glue gun, but it's not plugged in at the moment. And make sure it's pressed down. And there you have it. Thank you for watching.